Hey, what's up guys? It is the Brick Building Kids. Today I am going to be sharing with you a how to change your brakes. So as you can see here, I've got lots of materials. I've been preparing for this video for a while. So we are going to replace all four brakes, brake pads, and rotors on my Honda Civic. So what ended up happening is my car sat for so long during our pandemic that the rotors actually started to warp. So since I'm taking everything off, we're going to replace the brake pads as well. So let's get started. Here we go. Alright guys, now you may ask, why am I replacing these brakes? So like I said in my introduction, we're replacing this because our brakes, our car sat for so long during the pandemic that the actual rotor started to warp. And the way I'm able to tell that is when driving, and I'll show you here when we pop the wheel up, but there is there's a rubbing that's occurring on these rotors, and if you look at them from the wheel, they look fine, but as they turn, there is a specific area where the rotation gets like harder to turn around, and as you're driving you can hear it very, very loudly. So I was kind of hoping that, you know, driving it for a few months it would correct itself, but that's not the case. So we are going to jack this up and remove the wheel. So here we go. Hey guys, we're back. So on the driver's side, I had a slight malfunction on the camera, didn't get all the footage, so we're going to retry this again on the passenger side. So I've got all my tools here, impact driver, hammer for the impact driver, we've got a clamp for the caliper, we've got our lug nut remover, we have a couple different socket wrenches, we've got all of my rotors, brake pads, and my jack. So here we're going to remove all of the lug nuts, but first we're going to pop the car up and put it on a jack. Alright, now we've got it under the metal, so we're going to pop this up all the way. Now I'm just only going to do one wheel at a time. I'm going to show you guys the front and the back. Okay. Okay. Okay, so here's what I've learned from other brake jobs on home. Now, I'm going to be putting a jack stand under here to hold this up. You never want to have this resting on your jack. So I'm gonna jack it up high enough so I can actually put my tire under the front. So in the event that there is, you know, some sort of jack malfunction, that if it does fall, it will land on the tire and break the fall from me. So there is plenty of room under there to fit the tire. So we're gonna grab a jack stand now. my jack stands are super tall. They were for an SUV originally. All right. Just a little bit more. All right, now I'm going to release this in your jack. There's a little lever here to release. Okay, so it's resting on my jack. Alright, perfect. So we'll let this collapse all the way. Alright guys, now as you can see here, the jack stand holding the car completely under here. Okay. So now we're going to take this tire off. Alright guys, so we are in a spot where we have all the lug nuts off and the wheel just didn't want to come off, so we had to apply some extra force to actually get this to come off. So, like I said originally, we are going to take this, we're going to roll it under the front. Roll it right under the front, just as a safety precaution. Okay. Now do yourself a favor and save your driveway. I would apply a towel underneath the area that you're working and apply one under your own knees for your own sanity. Okay. Alright guys, a couple things before we get into the next part. So we're gonna, like I said, remove the caliper. We want to make sure we have some sort of pan to collect any sort of debris that is falling out of the brake line. I just have it here collecting. We've got a towel under here, an old towel, because there's going to be a lot of things falling off of here that, you know, just put it on the towel and throw it in the trash when you're done. So we are going to take, and when we remove this caliper, we're going to hang it up here. That way we don't cause any kind of puncturing or any stress on that actual brake line. So you're going to grab an 11/16 socket, and you are going to remove 2 large bolts in the back. Alright, so you just use the mallet, rubber mallet, just to help out a little bit. I was able to get that bolt off. Okay, this bolt right here. soon as we take this off, it is going to want to hang. So what I do is I actually take bungee cords and I hang them up within this chamber, so I can easily finish removing that bolt. Okay. As soon as it comes off, this is able to be removed from the rotor, or should be. Okay. All right, so we're gonna hang this up here, up top. Okay. Find a point that's not gonna put a lot of stress on this. Okay, and I actually want it up higher. We're gonna hang it up higher. Alright, see there, side, I've got my bungee cord hanging here. It's right through there. So our next point is we're gonna get this rotor off. Okay, and if you haven't already, I did forget to mention this, make sure you have your emergency brake on in your car. Alright guys, so at this point we've got to remove the rotor. We've got to remove the brake line from the caliper and remove the old brake pads. So what I want to start with is removing the rotor, because in the past this has given me problems getting this off of the rotor. So this is actually not essential to when you put new rotors back on. It is just something they do in the factory in the assembly line process to attach the rotors and move it along down the line. So I did make a mistake before and strip these in the past by using just a regular screwdriver. So we're going to use an impact driver, just a hand impact driver. So you're going to want to give this a nice hit. And as you're hitting, just slightly turn to get this to turn, and you'll start to feel once it gets loosened. Before we get carried away, I'm actually going to grab a bigger size bit for this, just to prevent any kind of potential stripping. This one out. Alright, this one might be the best. It's a monster. Okay. There it is. It's starting to come loose. Perfect. Hey guys, this part in the past has ruined hours of my day with stripping this, needing a Dremel to get it out. So, perfect. That's screw. Now, I would say, for me, I have no preference. I always put them back, but I've heard from other people that you don't need to remove it or don't need to put it back on. I just think it's good practice. If it's on there once, it probably needs to be back on there. So, all right. So this rotor might need a little bit of help, just like that. All right. Okay, so we're gonna clean off some of this. Okay. Okay, alright guys, so we're gonna move on taking this caliper apart. So I am going to start with removing the brake line. I believe yeah, this one is, okay. Get a different one for this. And actually last time we removed this when it was attached to the vehicle, so that's a good thing to remember for later. Remove this before you actually take the caliper off. That way you've got, that way it's actually holding on to something. Alright, we're gonna do that. We're gonna slight malfunction on my part. Alright, so in order to make this easier to take off, I actually reattached it. So, back here. Alright, brake line is off. Alright, so we've temporarily unscrewed it just a little bit. So I'm going to take this bolt back off. See here, we're going to finish removing this. Now, watch the washers. So we've got one, we have the bolt, okay? We've got the line, and we've got a washer right under the line. So we need to keep an eye on that, keep it with the screw, okay? And know where it goes. So now that this is off, I'm just going to hang up the brake line to prevent it from just to prevent brake fluid from running all over the place. Alright. Good thing to do too, guys, is wear gloves. I never do. But wear gloves. Alright, so down here you will see my caliper. We're going to start by taking off these two bolts so we can remove all of the old brake pads. Okay, and again, WD-40 is going to be necessary to help get these off. Alright. Alright, it's loose. Alright, that's loose. Okay. Take these two bolts, set them off to the side. Okay. This will come right out of here. Okay, now this part I found pretty cool because putting it back together, it's just kind of neat how all this stuff works. So, but we're gonna remove the remove these brackets, remove the noise reduction, or the springs, and put our new ones back on. Okay, so these are in there pretty tight, so you'll want to just use some pressure to remove them. You'll need to take both brake pads out before you can remove any of the brackets. So So you might need a little help to pop them out completely. All right. And it doesn't hurt to have pliers laying around too to pry these out, but you will actually need needle nose pliers to make sure they're pried back in place properly. So move these garbage ones out of the way. Okay, now I'm going to spray all this down to remove the grease, the dust, the debris. Just clean it up a little before we put it back on. Alright, my car has less than 20,000 miles on it, so it's not too bad. Okay. All right, guys. Okay, grab all our hardware. Two of these, and 2 of these. So you will want to make sure that you have taken some sort of clamp and pushed this all the way back inside the caliper. Alright guys, so here we're going to take and we're going to reinsert these, and these are going to help guide our brakes, our brake pads into place as well. Okay. Okay, so you can see here, got them in. We're going to put these prongs down. Okay. Okay. Alright, so when you put these in here, you're going to want to bend the tabs the way they're held in place. Okay, and those tabs are on all sides. So we'll get them on this side as well. Okay, great. Alright, so now we're ready to put our brake pads in here. So take these gloves off. It'll be easier doing it here. Okay. So the caliper, or the brake pad closest to the caliper, is going to go in here. So we're going to slide this in here. Okay, and you might have to work it a little bit to get it in here. Okay, so that is in. Okay, now the one on the reverse side, it will not have this pin. So we'll put this in here. Okay, and again, just like the other, it might take a little persuasion to get in. Okay. Had it. It's in. Okay. So now I'm gonna put these springs in here. All right, awesome. So we have some brake compound lubricant that comes with, that we do want to make sure we have applied. And that is just in these general rubbing areas. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna rub these back and forth just to kind of get it into the mix. Got everything busting up now. All right, take these springs back off. Okay. All right, so that compound is running well in the areas that they're suggesting we put it. Okay. Perfect. It's a little more slippery in there now. Nice. Okay. And I should have left my gloves on. Alright, let's put these back in. Okay. Now this will go right in here. You might need to push up one of your brake pads to get it in the first time. Okay. So good, we're in. Okay, now expand that as much as you can. So we're going to put these bolts back in here now. Not that one. Not that one again. Alright, let's tighten these up. Okay, you guys, the brake pads I got, they're by Evolution. They actually came in a pack with the brake pads and the rotors, so it was a nice convenient, purchase on Amazon. So we verified that all the parts matched, and I'm not a super car guy, but just want something economical for what it was, and these fit that. So did include a link in our video to these. Now we're going to put the rotor back on now, so we can put this on. So all right. All right, guys. So super embarrassing moment. So I was pulling out my new rotor to put on, and noticed that it said driver side. So had to take the other one off. So what I have here is I took the one I just installed, and we're going to be installing it here. So kind of like I said, embarrassing, but I'm not too proud. So here's the rotor. So real well. Now the only thing, if you do want to put those screws back in, just make sure that the holes line up. They don't line up perfectly at every hole. So put this here. Alright, so we've got this lined up. Now we're going to take and just basically put everything back on. So the screw, I've lined it up here. Alright, now we're going to reattach the caliper, and then reattach the brake line, and we should be done with both of our front wheels. So we'll just go about reassembly the same way that we took it off. So we'll start with these two bolts, attaching the backside. You feel pretty well about reattaching. So that's good. But just like everything else, we want to make sure this is very tight before we start driving on it again. Okay, let's get a little tighter than it was before. So, rotor moves freely within here. So we're going to attach the brake line back, and we do want to make sure that when we attach this, that the washer is flush to the caliper and not to the nut itself. Okay, get that on, we'll make it nice and tight. Alright, so again, we're freely flowing. Cool. So now we're going to reattach the wheel. Alright, fronts are done. We're going to move on to the back. Alright guys, now we are onto the back. So we're going to lift this up. These are disc brakes as well, so this should be pretty similar. So we're going to pop this up and start to do the same thing we just did, but on the back. These guys look a little more complicated. They may look a little more complicated with some of these springs, but we're going to be fine. We'll have this going in no time. So I'm going to start with loosening that rotor screw. Alright, so I've got these guys back here. They are loosened up. We have a lot less room on this side to work with. Alright, so we're going to take off. There's two things we need to take off. So the rear calipers are connected to a electronic mechanism and our brake line. So we're going to start with the brake line. Alright. Sprayed some WD-40 on that before. Okay. Okay, now it's the same thing as before. Washer goes on the inside. I'm gonna pop this off. Okay. Now our rotor is still trapped in the caliper, so we need to remove the electric line before we can take all of this off. Alright guys, now we should be able to take this caliper off with taking these two bolts off. So I'm going to try to pry this off here. Yep, it's coming right off. Alright, we're going to try to loosen some of this stuff up. Since all this is going to be replaced, we're going to try to loosen this up. Alright, the shame. Okay. So, what did we learn? What did we learn? Parking brake needs to come off. Parking brake needs to come off. Okay. Alright. Rotor's off. Okay. Caliper is off. Caliper is hanging. Okay. So we didn't actually need to unplug that braking mechanism, the electronic thing back here. So gotta get this one off. Okay. Just get that brake out of here. gone. Alright, so we'll hang this here. Let's work on getting our replacement parts. Okay, so we're going to start back here. So we do need to depress that caliper, so we're going to grab our clamp and do that. Alright guys, so I'm actually going to start with the rotor on, and then I'm going to start working around the rest of the components. So put this back in here. And so we're not doing extra work. I will put in the right side the first time. Alright, so put the rotor back on. We are going to orientate the brakes the way they need to be put back on. Man, like I really feel like we're gonna need to press this, but I'm not certain how we're gonna do that. So we're gonna start. Alright guys, so as it turns out, I used to have a tool for this, but I no longer have it. But so you can't use a clamp to decompress this. So what we're going to do is I'm taking needle nose pliers, I'm shoving it in these slotted grooves back here, and I'm applying inward force and turning it clockwise, and it's actually depressing. So I'm going to keep doing that until it gets fully inside, so I can finish what we started. Alright guys, now I'm just trying to get these holes back in the back. We attached the hex screws up top. Now we're just trying to get the caliper screws back in. Alright, so I got a socket extension. Finally go at this right. Alright. we gotta put our springs back on. Alright, sweet, we're back in. Okay. Now we just need to reattach our brake line, and this one is ready to go. Okay. So, remember, washer goes on the inside. Reattach line and the bolts. Nice and tight. Okay. Just double check these guys. They're nice and tight. We put the caps back on. Alright. Need to reattach the wheel, and then we are ready to go. Alright guys, this concludes our video. We do appreciate you watching. Included links to all the products that we have used today, and if you have any questions about how to install them, or when you're installing them, just let us know. As far as break-in, like I'm going to drive this around the block a few times, probably more than a few times, just to kind of break these in, make sure that they are wearing and stopping correctly. So if you guys have any questions, let us know in the comments below. Appreciate you watching.